4 months into his new administration, President Bola Tinubu has rolled out a second set of palliatives for the country. The first was announced back in June in the aftermath of the full subsidy payment removal. The second palliative was announced on Sunday as the government tried to stave off a nationwide labor strike action, which was scheduled to start tomorrow, Tuesday, the 3rd of October. So what are the economics of this rolling set of palliatives by the Tinubu's administration? Chatting to me on this from here now is Paul Alaji, a public policy analyst and senior economist at SPM Professional. It's a public holiday Monday evening, so thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so very much for having me.
How are you doing? I'm sure you were in the other room listening to our conversation, and he said, well, he wouldn't say it's palliative, this intervention, because palliatives could have certain misinterpretation. Do you agree with that?
Well, palliative is palliative, intervention is intervention. If it's palliative, it's just trying to reduce the effect or the impact or something negative on people. When it's intervention, government is looking at something more structured, which may be for a relatively long period of time. Meanwhile, palliative are usually for a short period of time. They are not to solve the real problem. So in the UK, you see how government intervene in some areas, but when it comes to palliative, maybe there is flawed incidents that government wants to support, but when its intervention is a bit different. So maybe from what he said, it could mean that government is looking at this palliative as a rolling plan. Recall that federal government of Nigeria just partnered with the state governors and provided 2 billion naira to different states. And what we heard, what was in the media, was that was used to purchase rice in the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT. This is another one, which is a bit different because it's assumed that people would have finished consuming the rice by now. So we have new set of palliatives according to the publication of government. Now, I'm just quoting what government published, you know, that 25,000 naira, 25,000 naira and 35,000 naira. 35,000 naira based on the updated information that is
for federal workers.
Yeah, for federal workers.
And the 25 to 15 million households.
Exactly. So this is new that government is bringing to the table. And you see, we should understand where the president is coming from, because if Labour goes on indefinite strike, this economy will certainly witness, if it depends on how Labour delays, Nigeria may go into recession if we allow Labour to go on strike. Recall that already we have high inflation, we have people that are concerned, we have agitation everywhere. Government right now may be doing everything possible to avert that strike from happening. And you know, if it happens, you've seen circulars published by different union component of the Nigerian Labour Union and Trade Union, including aviation, including electricity, including nurses, doctors. All of them have said they will down to if federal government don't agree with Labour. So what I would only advise is that, well, federal government seems to be shifting the ground. Labour should also consider and see how we can meet ourselves in the middle.
Negotiations still on as we speak now at the Villa. At least the last we got from our correspondent at the Villa was that the government officials are considering the feedback from the various neck of the NLC or the TUC and others, putting heads together and look at whether those demands, what was placed on the table yesterday by the government, was good enough. Again, all this happening around the country's independence. So again, we've had two rolling palliatives. The one immediately after the announcement of the fuel subsidy removal, then the Labour says, look, we're going to on strike the first time. They came back, then they said they're going on the second time, this time around. Then the government is putting something also on the table. So what exactly do you make of this? What are the economics or the expected impact of these set of palliatives in terms of some products, some food products, agro-products distributed to people, then increased salaries, wages for some federal workers at a certain level, but for just a few months, 3-6 months down the line?
Okay, so as we may know, palliative are usually short-term. They are not solving the problem. You know, before subsidy was removed, I made my opinion known. I remember I chatted with you, I was in Abuja at the time, and I said, before subsidy is removed, we must fix the refineries. Our problem in Nigeria is supply side. So if I would be honest with the nation, we need to solve our supply side problem. And what does this include? Making refineries to work. If refineries work, whatever happened to exchange rate, we no longer have so much impact. Apart from crude, if the refineries are not getting crude from the Nigerian Federation, then we need to you may still need to be concerned about what happens to exchange rate. But by and large, I'm of the opinion that the Port Harcourt Refinery government says a lot of workers are gone into that.
Yes, they've got deadlines.
Yes, so I'm hopeful that by December,
yes,
we will have that come to mainstream. We have heard that Dangote Refinery will also come mainstream before the end of the year. My hope is that these two refineries, among other ones, will come mainstream. And also government should encourage perhaps private sector to take full ownership or majority stake in these 4 refineries. The goal of private sector is profitability, but that will not happen if there is no output. In Nigeria today, we are losing profit because government is holding on to these refineries, and we are also losing output. Why do we have to pay labor more salaries? Because to pay school fees for most schools has now increased. Universities have increased, and they have students in public school.
Would you advise the labor unions, therefore, to look at the privatization of the refineries, or perhaps government just selling down significantly in terms of ownership and allow private sector to come in? Because the labor shouldn't be seen as labor union for federal workers, but also for every Nigerian.
Exactly. And I believe that's what position labor has taken over the years. My advice, I've spoken with 1 or 2 persons among the TUC and NLC. And my advice to them has been, we need the refineries to work. How it works is a different ballgame entirely. My advice to them is, government is not good when it comes to managing property, because it's a role of the private sector. Government should stay with the regulatory part side of things. So government should give about 60 to 70% of the shares. Give it to private sector and give to-do list to the same private sector that we're giving you 3-4 years to make sure this refinery produce, and this should be the minimum. Private sector wants to make profit. Because of profit, you must produce. Because there is no production, come on, there is no profit. So unlike what we are doing now, we are paying billions of naira to workers that are having zero output. And that can only happen in public sector. And that is why government must consider giving these out to private sector individual so that queues will not return. Recall that as we speak, countries are even considering increasing their pump price. All over the world, because of ongoing war, we have seen the Black Sea grain deal almost being cancelled now because of the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. All of those will have impact on our economy. We should understand that we are not living in an island. We are not living in isolation. We are living in the world where crisis seems to be more evident since after COVID. And the earlier we understand that we need private sector and investor who has their own interest, the better for us. If you want to just go by the way of palliative alone, it will solve our problem in the short term. But we will be able to solve this in the long term. One of my concerns is how those who are working for states, how will they respond? Because some states have added 10,000 naira to fee. We have seen private sector also added some. Are we saying we want to move minimum wage to about 65,000 from 60,000 that we have it? But when you convert that to dollar, even using government exchange rate, we will still have people living below the poverty line. Meanwhile, usually, Nigeria stay between $100 to $200 for minimum wage.
So, but is there anything else in the president's speech of October 1st that goes beyond short-term palliatives to the underbelly of the economy, as Taiwo Idile spoke about? Is there anything you picked out?
For me, I think government is just trying to calm Nigeria, that some of the decisions taken, the impact will not come in the short term, not in the medium term, is going to take a long term, and that such decisions should have been taken long enough before this time.
What about the VAT suspension on diesel?
Yeah, the VAT suspension, we expect to see some reduction. What percentage is VAT itself of the total cost? Recall that in 2021, when I was starting a factory, the cost of diesel that time was 260 naira per liter. Today, it's over 1,000 naira. So even when we remove that, it will reduce the VAT. It will reduce to about 900 naira. The real elephant in the room is exchange rates. And why are we having problem with exchange rate? Because we are importing. So when we make the 4 refineries that are moribund work, and we support the private sector refinery to work, then we can have the cost of diesel reduced to about 500 naira. Now, each time cost of diesel increases, I'm happy the president is removing it because it will reduce some costs, no doubt. It will reduce the price, the price we pay at the gas station will reduce for diesel. It will. But is this what will really bring us to where we can sell, for instance, rice for as low as 40,000 naira? Check all over Nigeria today. Local rice are sold even up to 45, 46, 47, in some places, 60,000 naira. That shouldn't be. But the cost of production is very key, and it's very important that we look into it so that it will not bring all of us on our knees someday.
But do you see more palliatives? The way things are going, do you think this is the final palliative so far? Do you see more palliatives or more interventions still being thrown into the mix?
Yeah,
before
what I think
the end of the year, perhaps into the new year?
What I think government should do now, President Tinubu has promised. Remember that when he made his 31st July speech, you and I had a conversation. You were here in Lagos, I was in Abuja at the time, and he made some promises. And I've also advised that government may need to increase the volume and the number that is to be done so that we can have a lot. Because you see, the key player in this economy, in Nigerian economy, is private sector. The challenge with private sector is that the policy, the environment seems to be very hot for the kind of policies that has been made. Therefore, I'm of the opinion that the government should do something very quickly regarding that promise. Supporting SMEs, government has said it's going to support 100,000 of them. I think that is small. We may extend it for the first phase to about 1 million. You know, government is giving to household, maybe people that don't even have any business, people that cannot even afford. So that's reasonable. But beyond 25,000, can we support small businesses, those who can employ one person more, 2 more persons, and government can tie some of them?
So the households who's getting the cash palliative can get a job.
Yes.
Then they get paid.
If not, they will come back to government for more palliatives. And for more palliative without productivity. At the end of the day, what is...
For which government is not collecting tax, by the way, because it doesn't have a job.
Of course. Now he's not having a job, so government is losing.
Yes.
The person is frustrated.
Yes.
The businesses are also suffering. But what should we be doing? When we support more businesses to thrive, especially those within the small and medium scale, you are going to have these businesses, maybe 1 million or 2 million or 3 of them, employ 1 more person, 2 more persons, but tie it to something. Ensure what they are producing is export-oriented. Even if they don't get it right now, after a while, they will start getting it correctly. And this should spread all over the nation.
So you think that we've done enough of individual...
Yes. President Buhari did it for 8 years.
So we should move to small and medium enterprises,
exactly.
the middle of the value chain in industrial production.
Exactly. So that we can create a middle class.
So we can create jobs.
Yes, we need to create jobs. Look at what National Bureau of Statistics shared. A lot of people are just reading National Bureau of Statistics says unemployment is now 4% or 5%. That's not what they're saying. What they're saying is when you use 1 hour a week as a measure, but if you are using 20 hours, which we have always used, it's still over 30%. That is what the Bureau of Statistics is saying. And that is what I hope we'll see. And that's dangerous for people to get 4 hours job a week, a day. We have over 30%, not of the entire population, but of the labor force. Labor force in Nigeria is about 70 million out of 220 million people.
I want to stay out of the dangerous waters, by the way. I don't want to be there. I don't like anything dangerous. But it's nice having you here tonight. It's a Monday public holiday evening. Just relax a little bit and then perhaps lay back and enjoy the rest of the evening. Work resumes tomorrow.
Of course.
We're always in business here.
Yes.
But thank you for being part of our business.
Thank you so very much for having me.
Thank you so much, Paul Alaje, public policy analyst and the senior economist at SPM Professionals.